Lewis's
5 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
Terrific. All right, we'll move to Section E on the agenda, public comment. Do we have any public comment today?
No, Mr. Chair, no one has signed up for public comment.
Public comment. So we will move full speed ahead to presentations and reports. We have 2 reports today. The first one I know we're certainly having, which is ATL DOT. We're also supposed to have a report on the ARC, which is usually presented by Councilmember Westmoreland, who is our designee to the ARC. If he shows up, we'll give that report. If not, we'll do it at a future meeting. But for now, Commissioner Cavanis, welcome. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Hump Day. Excited to stand before you, Chair and Committee, to present on our second quarter transportation update. We are excited about the direction ATL DOT is moving in, and we'll share some updates in terms of what's going on. But first, I'd like to just acknowledge the committee and all of the advocacy and the work we do together. I'm sure most don't know, but behind the scenes, we're doing a lot of work. Every day, we're going out and taking care of our residents. So I just want to make sure that I acknowledge this committee. When I first started, I asked that we be advocates for each other, and you've stepped up as well as the ATL DOT team. And just want to make sure that you know that we appreciate it, and our staff appreciates everything you do for us. So thank you for that. We're going to jump into our quarterly update, and I'm going to get through these slides as quick as possible. We have a pretty packed agenda today. So one item I'd like to address that was brought up at last meeting by Mr. James Curtis, who joined us about some challenges with sidewalks in Midtown. I just want to share that there was a request made for the crosswalk to be reinstated at Peachtree Valley Way and Peachtree Road. The construction of the housing adjacent to the site, which included utility work, resulted in the removal of the striping, as shared by Mr. Curtis. Although the contractor was due to reestablish the crosswalk when his work was done, the city went ahead and took care of the striping and accelerated that work this weekend. So I just want to make sure that's on record and everyone understands that we hear the concerns of our residents, and we want to make sure we do the right thing. So we want to thank Mr. Curtis for bringing that to our attention, and I ask that everyone looks out for the ADA work and the sidewalk work that is on the way. ATL DOT is focused on making sure we improve the quality of life and take care of our residents. So thank you for that. So if we could jump into our quarterly report. Please stand by. All right, today we're going to briefly go through our programs and initiatives, our capital delivery program, community and public engagement events. We've been quite busy. State of good repair, and our employee appreciation and other updates. So obviously the mission of ATL DOT is to design, deliver, maintain an efficient multimodal transportation system that provides Atlanta residents, commuters, visitors safe and equitable access within the city in alignment with the Atlanta Transportation Plan. So I want to highlight that word, equitable access, something that we are truly focused on taking care of all of our residents. So we have our 4 pillars as part of moving Atlanta forward as established by the administration. One safe city, a city of opportunity for all, a city built for the future, effective and ethical government. You'll see those themes throughout our presentation. And I'll jump into programs and initiatives. So we have our Vision Zero program. I'll give an update. Atlanta Streets Alive, which we look forward to. Our first event in-house this September 24th, Sunday. Light Up the Night, Next Steps, Capital Delivery Program, and our MARTA program. I'm going to shy away from the More MARTA program as we received the presentation from MARTA last meeting, but I'll just speak to what we're doing in-house as it relates to MARTA and Fare Free. So our Vision Zero approach was used on all ATL DOT projects and foundation for moving Atlanta forward portfolio. Vision Zero focuses, of course, on bringing fatal accidents to zero and serious crashes or serious injuries due to crashes to zero. We have gone through our severe crash trend data, and we recognize that there's a downward trend as compared to this time last year, but over the last 5 years, we've seen an upward tick, especially given the behavioral impacts of COVID. So staying on data, obviously some of our major corridors, arterials throughout the city are our Georgia DOT jurisdiction. So we're working very closely with Georgia Department of Transportation to make sure that we have a consistent design and mitigation strategy as we roll out our Vision Zero action plan this October. And by way of update, we've gotten plenty of feedback from the community and the public to add to our criteria for evaluation, and we closed that input on July 31st. And our final task force meeting is scheduled for the 26th. We have a public meeting October 4th, and we're looking to release our strategic plan come October of this year. Safe Routes to School is a very popular program. We had a ribbon cutting at the Crawford Long Middle School in May. The mayor, Councilmember Lewis, and others were there, and it was a very successful event, and we're looking forward to proliferation of Safe Routes to Schools programming and supporting our corridors. So one thing that's not listed here is our Atlanta Streets Alive program. So Atlanta DOT is accepting the Atlanta Streets Alive production with our first event on September 24th, Sunday, and we look forward to all and any who want to participate. We encourage the public and everyone, businesses in the city, to come on out and enjoy an event along Peachtree, where we'll shut down Peachtree between Mitchell and 15th Street. We will have partners to include the Underground and others. So just want to encourage everybody to come on out. It's going to be a fun day, walking, biking, and we'll go from 1 to 5 p.m. We made an adjustment from 2 to 6 and backed it up between 1 and 5 just to make sure we accommodate all along the corridor. Shared mobility updates. This is something that we haven't shared in the past. I want to make everyone aware that we post all of our stats around shared mobility throughout the city. We're seeing a proliferation of use within the city, and we're just sharing stats for our highest month of with September, given Labor Day holiday. So it was a very active time where a number of folks are taking advantage of the mobility resources within the city. Light Up the Night is an ongoing program. We have thereby concluded our Phase 3 work with Georgia Power, and we are developing our Phase 4. We've done thereabouts 18,000 lights within the city to light up the streets for safety, mobility, and just general visibility, making Atlanta more of a vibrant city. And we're looking at upwards of 20,000 lights in Phase 4. So be on the lookout for an update related to Light Up the Night. And Fare Free. Fare Free MARTA pilot is a pilot that the administration took on to see what free fare for our employees would feel like at the city before we think about other opportunities for providing free MARTA ridership in Atlanta. So this has been a very successful endeavor. We initiated this back in July, and we're already at the targeted 1,000 employees enrolled. So Atlanta DOT is driving this, and we're really excited about where that's going. So capital delivery. We've had a very active quarter with capital delivery. This is just a table for the streets that were included in the downtown resurfacing. We're at our punch list phase and should be closing this out by the fall. There are some challenges along the Forsyth Street corridor, which we're finalizing, but downtown resurfacing, it looks really good. I want to acknowledge our construction team and everyone who's participated in this, as well as CAP for all their work and contribution. And we'll have a ribbon cutting for the Martin Luther King Drive corridor soon. LMIG resurfacing. We've activated the resurfacing program for this fall. We hope to have all of these roads at least in their final stage before punch lists by December. So we have a lot of work to do, about 45 miles of roadway within the city, and we're working with you directly to make sure that we prioritize our corridors. Capital delivery process, moving Atlanta forward, is moving forward. We got comments from you all. I know Deputy Commissioner Moore has been working with you on the projects and prioritizing our projects, making sure we have what we need in this program. We are looking forward to advancing a number of projects into procurement over the next quarter. So we'll keep you posted on that. I will say that your discretionary list was due August 31st, and we have the $12 million that was assigned to ATL DOT for safety, resurfacing, and improvements along corridors. So I encourage everyone to get in your list, and we'll work with you directly to make sure that we appropriate those funds. This is just a slide just to give you an idea of what it takes to deliver. We have 5 stages. I say 6 because we have those which have not been activated, but we have a project manager that ensures that each one of these steps are accounted for as part of all of our projects within our capital program. You'll see procurement lists 6 to 1 year, 6 months to 1 year. We have done work to shrink that timeline in our work with procurement. So looking forward to getting projects out on the street, under construction, and cut the ribbons. A few examples of projects in our capital delivery portfolio: DeKalb Avenue safety improvements. We had our ribbon cutting this past quarter, and we are finalizing some line striping, signal work, and protected bike lane work to close this out. So we should be out of there by this October. Cascade Avenue Road Complete Streets Phase 1. We had a meeting with the community just last week, and that was a very insightful meeting. We came out and gave an update on the status of this program. We've been working with utilities to accelerate their work so we can get the work moving. We're working with the contractor to activate this work as soon as October next month, so we can get this in and make sure everyone's happy. So we're looking forward to working with Councilmember Overstreet and continue to give updates to the community. I will say we had a 6-month schedule for community outreach, which we shortened, and now we're going out thereabouts every 3 months to make sure that we're being held accountable. And Bolton Road. Bolton Road Improvements is a project that we included as part of our resurfacing program. We've been working with Councilmember Hillis to make sure that all the community concerns are in order. We have a community meeting this Thursday. We're looking for completion of this project next March because we have some drainage challenges, and we want to make sure we accommodate all vulnerable users along the corridor with sidewalk improvements under the CSX Bridge up to Marietta Road. And we want to make sure this is a partnership with the community. So we've already posted our signs to give advance notice that we'll start work next week. So we're excited about moving this $1.7 million improvement program. Substantial completion, downtown City Hall vicinity resurfacing. Obviously, I mentioned we are closing that out. Bankhead Highway overhead bridge demolition. Everyone's familiar with that trestle over on Bankhead. We're closing that out. And Cascade Springs Nature Preserve ADA improvements. We've finalized that work, and we're actively in the LMIG resurfacing program, looking to finish that this December. So collections for T-Splosh 2.0, this is our year 1 collections. We are thereabouts at $65 million, and we're putting that money to work, to good use. And I'll jump to community and public engagement events. So as many of you know, we've been out in the community. Cheshire Bridge Road, we were out in in April. Safe Routes to Schools, I mentioned Crawford Long, we're out in May. Construction Communications, Cascade Road, we were out in May and this past September. United Avenue looks really good. We've been working with Councilmember Winston to make sure everyone's happy. Downtown City Hall vicinity resurfacing. We've had community engagement activities with Councilmember Dozier. That was back in June, and Cascade Road Community Meeting again was in September. So on the right, you'll see we've had a number of community engagements related to Vision Zero, Safe Routes to School, and other activities within ATL DOT. So state of good repair. I think this is very important as we are looking to address our highest 311 call volume appurtenance of potholes. We're just there about our goal of 30. We've had some challenges over the summer, but we're up and rolling. We have doubled our crews for potholes, but I just want to make the case that, we shouldn't focus as much on potholes as the state of our infrastructure. We need to go in, make sure the roads are paved, and in terms of the life cycle and the life of our infrastructure, we need to make sure that, these calls go down if we take care of the whole of our infrastructure. So this just gives you an idea of the requests that have come in over the last few months. And obviously potholes have been top calls. Emergency, non-emergency signal repair, concrete sidewalk, small inspections. So I'll reiterate, we need to go in and take care of our infrastructure. And this fall, we're going to initiate our sidewalk work. Emergency traffic signal repairs, flashing lights, etc. So that just gives you a quick look into what we receive. So we've had a number of employee appreciation activities. I'll just call to attention, number one, focus on safety. We recognize National Safety Month for workplace safety, and it was a very spirited activity at our North Avenue facility. And I'll close out with our Stakeholder Oversight Committee. Our next meeting is September 20th, next week, and we're still in need of 3 members of that committee. So I ask that if we can get those last few names, we're working with the administration to make sure we have the mayor's appointees. So with that, questions and
those vacancies
concerns.
are your boss. You talk to your boss about those vacancies.
We are.
Coming here yelling at us. Yeah.
Just on the record.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah.
I do want to acknowledge before we dive into Q&A, we've been joined by council members Waits, Norwood, and Westmoreland. We have a full team this morning, and I'm sure we'll have lots of questions. I will indulge myself by going first. Obviously, colleagues, if you have questions, go ahead and hit the speaker button and we'll work through. Quickly on shared micromobility updates, appreciate that. Good to see the number of rides. I do see a lot of folks using them to get to work. I've seen construction workers using them to get to work. I've seen restaurateurs and restaurant workers using them to get to work. But especially in my district, where we have a high concentration of them, I also see and hear from residents who are really at their wits' end on the number of folks who are riding on sidewalks, especially in Midtown and parts of the old Fourth Ward, where pedestrians are being hit. There's just a general sense of conflict that exists. I've talked with your staff about possible solutions, but we're not going to ask. APD is charged with enforcing. They've got 100 other things to do that are better than running down folks in scooters who may be on a sidewalk. And geofencing doesn't always work in the densest parts of a city based on just how the signal works amongst high rises. But we have to get that under control if this is going to be a viable program, because as much as we need a multimodal city, if we have pedestrians choosing not to walk, and I hear this from Midtown residents all the time because they don't want to deal with scooters either laying across the sidewalk or folks riding their sidewalks on scooters and brushing them out of the way, it's not a sustainable framework. And part of this is, the city has not built the infrastructure on the street for bikes and scooters that need to be there, and that's a longer term solution. And I've always been a proponent of scooters. I think we need this multimodal access in the city, but this tension of folks who are walking on sidewalks and people riding on sidewalks, we have to solve it. I think you probably saw Paris just yanked their whole scooter program, 15,000 scooters off the street after the folks just got fed up with it. I don't think we're there yet, but there's a lot of, I think, frustration with the lack of enforcement. The rules are on the books, and we've put the rules on the books, but I think for folks to safely move around town, both in a scooter and walking, we got some work to do. So I'll just put that out there. You're welcome to respond to it if you want, but I just wanted to voice my concern there.
So I want to be very careful about responding to that because it's an issue nationwide. Obviously, we're talking to NACTO and our other partner cities about technologies and strategies that they're pursuing to try to accommodate all users. There were campaigns around share the road and opportunities. We are investing or focusing on bike and light infrastructure segments, protected bike lanes and other areas, and perhaps looking at the districts and the context around where the proliferation of these types of modes are being used is something that our planning folks are working on. Also looking at the data. So in terms of safety, this is something that obviously won't go away until we pursue strategies. So we'll work with you on trying to
And I think one of the things your staff has said to me that I think is right and smart, and other cities have tried this, is it requires space, right? But if you require the scooters to be set out in on-street space, right? You take a parallel parking space or somewhere where you're picking it up on the street, you're less likely to jump on the sidewalk and ride it. But because folks are picking them up on the sidewalk, ride on the sidewalk. Okay. And I understand there's safety concerns. Like I've been on a scooter before. There's some streets where you don't feel safe riding on the street, right? But I appreciate your attention to it, and we can have this conversation over the months ahead.
Thank you for that, Chair. And I know there are others who are very interested in those facilities.
Councilor Lewis can ride his scooter. I mean, I'm not talking about it's his private scooter. It's not a shared device, right? I mean, he could be on the road as he sees fit. I'm not worried about that. I just think, given what we want to see from our center city, parts of the Beltline as well, there's conflict that we need to resolve. And they have a place in our ecosystem, but we haven't figured this out after a few years now, and we need to basically moving later forward. You did mention the number of projects that are starting to enter the pipeline. I was under the impression that for our district colleagues, our discretionary projects would start to see some costing and timeline work at the end of August as we turn to September. I mean, I'm getting impatient. This is me personally. I don't know about my colleagues. With projects I've submitted to the department to say, all right, can we cost this out? What's the timeline for it?
Okay.
Can you let us know when, as district council members, we'll get some clarity on our discretionary projects and what's going to be implemented when?
Absolutely. And I want to account for all the other work we're doing. Yep. We get a number of requests for costing things and, in terms of capacity to be able to make sure, we get you what you need. I'll make sure that I follow up.
And thank you for the timeline as to why it takes so long to get stuff done in our city. It looks like the quickest way that something can get done is 26 months. I'm going to carry this to every neighborhood meeting with me and just say, when people come out, like, hey, here's...
That's why it's in there.
Yeah. I do have a question, though, specific to... And look, I understand that each project has a lot of variables. There's things that can speed it up, or slow it down. I think we all want to see things move faster. You mentioned that each project is assigned a project manager. How many project managers do you have in ATL-DOT?
So we have 14 currently. We are on our way to 20, and that will grow over the next year. So obviously we have to parse out the projects. Many of our project managers have been overwhelmed, so we're making sure we level set or set expectations, but we're staffing up to bring those on.
You have the budget to get to 20, yep. And then you need to revisit it if we could.
Absolutely.
All right, great. That's all I have for now. I will turn to my colleague, Marcy Collier, Overstreet.
Thank you, Chair Faroki. Hello, Commissioner Cavanis. So I do appreciate you all coming to the community last Thursday. We did have a nice spirited debate about everything, all things transportation, the accountability from ATL-DOT. I really do appreciate it. I don't mind ever meeting with the community, whether they agree with what we're doing or not. I just think that the communication lines always need to stay open, and I'm glad we're on the same page with that. I go get my beating right next to you. It's fine. It really is, because it allows everyone to truly understand where we're coming from and where we're going. So I appreciate that. I will say, something popped up on my timeline, I believe it was like yesterday, and it showed that we did our ribbon cutting for Cascade Complete Streets November 2021. And it kind of hit me in a different way. Even though we had just had our meeting last week, it really showed me that we are way, way behind with that project. And the timelines that we spoke about on last Thursday, it's not feeling good. Although I do believe that we're having better conversations now than we did 2 years ago. I really do. The paper that we put in with the incentive program, with the bond issuance and all of that, I think that we are headed in the right direction. I will say that that actually did also trigger calls for concern for people calling me, because they're like, how a meal or any other place that's any other area that's just getting started right now, and we had a ribbon cutting in November 2021 for the 2016 list. So, let's keep all of this in perspective. How could that get an incentive, and could that possibly be done before Cascade Complete Streets? And my answer to them was, that wouldn't be right. And it wouldn't, not with us cutting that ribbon 2 years ago. So I just want us to keep that at top of mind, how long we've been on this project, so that we can race to the goal, to the end line. I do like the conversations we're having. The fact that we're talking about turning the dirt where people will actually see it and it'll matter to them before all of the utility lines are completed, that's a different conversation. I just, and the incentive program is something I'm actually happy about, because this is not the only project that we'll ever have to do. And I just do want you to understand that I think that we're headed in the right direction, even though, I want that street done. Like, I want it finished. So, but we are headed in the right direction. And so I probably never let up. But I do want the capital list. It wasn't specific in here. You did show a few things, but I want that. So I'll reach out to you to get that. That's fine. We can get it whenever, but definitely want that. Another thing that stood out to me was this picture from the angle of MLK. Yeah, I do. I would love to see it again. It's right at the matter of fact, it's like the first slide, literally. So, yeah, that one. That's my elementary school right there on the right. EA Ware. I went there. Did you? First through fifth. Yeah, Dr. Blackshear was my principal for 5 years. And just looking at that picture, it's the new Y headquarters, which I love that too, because I'm on that Y board, and it just all makes it worthwhile that we're serving here in Atlanta together. But yeah, I went to EA Ware for 5 years, and that's the auditorium where I met in the morning, because my mother was at work at Westlake at the Atlanta Job Corps Center right down the way. And I can smell the bread just looking at that picture. You remember the bread smell? I can smell the bread. And anybody that knows that you can definitely smell bread standing right there. So just wanted you to know that you touched my heart today with that. Okay.
I can't take credit for that. It's my team, but
thank you, team.
Good job, team.
Thank you, team. That's my elementary school. We're talking 1971 through 1975. All right.
It's hump day.
So you know.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Friday's getting closer.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Lewis.
How do you go after that, right? So, Mr. Cavanagh, Commissioner Cavanagh, I appreciate the report today. I want to let you know that folks on the south side are seeing shovels in the ground, and we haven't even scratched where we can go. And so I'm excited to see the next steps, and I just keeping up with that theme. Part of being on this city council and being from the city means that you get to see stuff get improved that you touched before. And so the page on the Safe Routes to School page on the Empire Boulevard, that shows that improvement for folks who are going to and from Crawford Long Elementary School, in which I went to in the late 90s. I remember late 90s, 99, graduate of middle school, Crawford Long Middle School, right there on that page, those students. On the shared mobility, I wanted to make sure I spoke to that. The reason a lot of folks are, as a scooter rider, as an avid scooter rider for the past 3 years. So before I was on council, I was already a scooter rider throughout the community, because the city, I always say Cleveland Avenue is a golf course community without the golf course, without the golf carts riding through the community. And so I wanted to be the first person on scooters in our community. And now I'm seeing more and more people with suits riding down Pryor Road, more and more people with suits riding down Metropolitan on scooters and on bikes, but we don't have the bike lanes. And so I think that the reason people on sidewalks is because of the cars, like we always say, people over cars, right? The cars, imagine how they treat people on scooters. Today when you see me come into the council, I had on my scooter vest, and it looked like a highlighter, but that's how I ride through the streets of Atlanta, so you can guaranteed see me and you share the road with me. So I think we need to share that mode more. We need to do more of a marketing plan on sharing the road, because we've developed a new city. We've developed a new diagram. If you look at Atlanta now, we look like DC in some of the ways in our downtown corridor, by the way we fixed it up with the shared space. And so I think we need to look at more bike lanes / scooter lanes. We need to start calling bike scooter lanes, because we have a lot of scooters in the city of Atlanta as well. And so I want to say I appreciate what you've been doing since you've been here. And folks on the south side, once again, they wanted me to make sure I told you this in the meeting today, that they see shovels in the ground, and they have 2 more streets that they want to take care of, because they've seen you do some magic on Metropolitan. Metropolitan Parkway, we have some of the potholes. They came back. And so over the new paving, I don't know if it's an issue or something, but in some of the, I know we're working on it now. Tell them to go look at it again, because some of those potholes came back. The Oak Drive in front of Empire Park. I know we're working on it with John, but I want to make sure we can actually get it done, because Miss Doris Miller, who lives across the street, she's having a lot of issues with her car going inside of a driveway. So Oak Drive, we can get that updated. It's been about a month and a half we had that pothole. But once again, I appreciate you. And let's get some more bike lanes on the south side of Atlanta, so we can protect our young folks who are now using these scooters, and they can get off the sidewalk. Thank you.
And if, Chair, I may respond briefly. Obviously, council member, we're working with MARTA on some improvements with the ART, Arterial Transit Program, and our Advanced Rapid Transit along the corridor from the east side to the west side, and also Metropolitan. And with that will come accommodations for all modes. So we're looking forward to that work, and we want to keep it going. So appreciate those words.
The Central Pryor, can we try? I know I'm gonna mention this every time I see you now, because I know it's a possibility. Can we get that bike lane to go all the way down Pryor Road? Because I do take it, and I think it would bring more people to the Beltline, because we do have the Beltline on Pryor Road, and folks don't know that at University and Pryor Road is the Atlanta Beltline. So thank you. If we can get those bike lanes, it would market it better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Amos.
Sir, quick question, then comment. The project managers, I mean, are they also assigned to council districts, so there'll be some continuity in projects, or they just willy-nilly assign projects?
So They're assigned based on their experience and the dollar value and complexity of projects. That is a conversation in talks with Georgia DOT, considering their structure. We're looking at geographically having assignments for project managers so that continuity exists. So yes, that's something we're pursuing. We're not there yet, but we're ramping up our project management numbers, and we will be including that as part of our approach.
And
I
then
appreciate
last but
that
not least,
comment.
I want to go back to the picture my colleague was talking about on ML King, because there's a lot going on there, but they was very strategic. It shows bike lanes, it shows safety with the APD officer there, it shows the striping, sidewalks, trees planted, lighting. It's the border between 3 and 4. So I just want to say thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And we're closing that out with FTA, just as an update.
Councilmember Waits.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for the improvements to Metropolitan Parkway. Oftentimes when things are wrong, it's easy to jump on you, and so I just simply wanted to let you know that those improvements have been made, including, I think, Councilmember Cleveland Avenue, in addition to Prior Road. So thank you, and they were done very quickly and expeditiously as requested. So we're grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner, for your time and presentation today.
Absolutely. And quick shout out, Hispanic Heritage Month is starting this Friday, so I want to say well wishes to that community, and everyone be safe. And it's good to see everybody since the holiday.
All right, our next report on today's agenda is an ARC report, which we'll turn to our colleague, Councilmember Westmoreland, who is our designee to the ARC.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, I emailed to you a couple minutes ago a written version of this report. It includes a number of hyperlinks to some pretty detailed updates that we got at the last ARC board meeting that I won't go point by point on today, but wanted to provide six quick updates. First off, in June, ARC announced the 53 folks who are going to be taking part in this year's Regional Leadership Institute. It's 53 folks from the public, private, and nonprofit sectors, highlighting it for one reason, and that is because Council Staff Director Santana Kimpson-Wright is in this year's class, and so wanted to call that out. In August, the ARC announced its annual population estimates for the region. We added 66,000 folks between April 2022 and 2023, bringing the region to a total of 5.16 million folks. The city led the region in the rate of growth. We added 14,300 residents last year, and the commission also noted the 12,000 residential building permits that we issued last year. 10,000 multifamily, 2,000 single family, way exceeding any other governmental entity in the region. We took a couple formal steps on things that we already know about. The Midtown Connector project received $3.2 million in congressionally directed spending to continue exploring a 17-acre park over the downtown connector. And then we formally accepted the $25 million raise grant that will help with the transformation of the 5 Point Station. The next four are hyperlinks. We had updates on the Metropolitan River Protection Act, the Regional Atlanta Electrification Plan, Atlanta's Regional Freight Mobility Plan, and the Metropolitan Transportation Transit Update. Happy to talk offline or right now about specifics of any of those reports if you want to. And then the last two, this year's link trip went to Montreal. 120 folks went up in the middle of August, and I wanted to highlight a couple things. One, Montreal is opening up the first phase of a $5.1 billion light rail expansion of their transit system that was funded entirely by their version of state government. So must be nice to have that. And then second, the city has a $30 million capital budget for bike lane expansion, which kind of goes to what Councilman Lewis was just talking about. Food for thought as we think about future budget years. A couple other interesting points. The mayor of Montreal spoke to the group, and during her tenure in office, as she builds her budget, they build the city's budget entirely through the lens of climate change and climate and resiliency, and every aspect of their budget gets tied back to how that is helping prepare the city for a changing climate. And then last thing, they closed 10 major corridors throughout the city to cars 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from May 1st to October 1st, which is also something interesting for us to think about. Last thing, it is time for the board to elect a chair for the next 2 years. Nominations will be sought at the October 11th meeting, and then the board will vote on a new chair on November 8th. So happy to answer any questions you got, and all of that and a lot more detail are in your email inboxes.
Thank you, Councilmember Westmoreland. Councilmember Lewis.
And I'm stuck on the bike lane and scooter lane. So you say they just spent $30 million on it
A year.
per year?
That is
on
their
expanding.
capital budget for bike and scooter lane expansion.
And that's part of their like people over cars initiative.
That's right.
And so how can you foresee us using that? Can you see us finding money federally or statewide? Or are we looking at growing in that way? Because I fell in love with that scooter, and I know if it was more protected, I would just go or I would go to Buckhead this evening for my wife's dinner.
Sure. Yeah. Now, one of the cool things about having conversations like this in September is that we've got a whole lot of runway as we think about, to your question, kind of how we allocate our own resources. And then I never put a whole lot of faith in the state being a big partner on bike lane expansion, though Councilman Farokhi's had some conversations with the GDOT commissioner about Memorial Drive and whether we can replicate what's happening on Memorial up on Ponce or other corridors. So never say never, but would love to talk to you more about
If we
how we
can
do that.
also add Metropolitan Parkway to that, because we do know Metropolitan Parkway leads to 3 different cities.
Yep.
And leads us to the airport. So anything we can do for the other streets, I would like for you as our ARC representative to take that back to the board.
For sure.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the thorough report. Appreciate it.
No problem.
A lot of good food for thought. Yeah. This is the best we've ever had, Councilor Westmoreland. Yeah. All right, let's move on to legislative items that will be before us today. I'll turn to Mr. Johnson for ordinances for first read. Section.
Item number 1, 23-01501, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor as designee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to amend the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinance, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Administrative Organization of Executive Branch, Section 2-281, Department of Transportation, for the purpose of adding the Office of Engineering, to amend Sections 2-282, Functions of the Duties of Office of Mobility Strategy, Planning and Performance, 2-283, Functions of the Duties of Office of Capital Project Delivery, and 2-284, Functions and Duties of the Office of Transportation Infrastructure Management, and to add a new section, 2-285, Functions of the Duties of Office of Engineering and for other purposes. Item number 2, 23-01502, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor as designee to execute amendment number 1 to the project management agreement for the East Side Trolley Trail Project with PATH, a Georgia nonprofit corporation, to extend the term of the agreement for a period not to exceed 365 consecutive calendar days to begin retroactively on December 31st, 2022, giving a new expiration date of December 31st, 2023, with no additional funding required and for other purposes. The section to our regular agenda, Section H, ordinance for second reading. Item number 3, 23-01469, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to amend the FY 2024 Airport Renewal and Extension Fund, Airport Passenger Facility Charge Fund, 2012A Bond General Airport Revenue Fund, 2012C Bond General Airport Revenue Fund, 2019A Non-AMT GARBs, 2019B AMT GARBs, 2019D Airport PFC and Sublien Revenue Bond Fund, 2022A Non-AMT GARBs, 2022B AMT GARBs, 2022C PFC Non-AMT Bond Fund, and 2022D PFC AMT Bond Fund budgets by transferring to and from appropriations in a total amount of $49,739,396.00 for reimbursement of the Airport Revenue and Extension Fund and Aviation Encumbrance Program and for other purposes.
Aviation.
Good morning. Brian Benefield, Deputy General Manager and Chief Financial Officer, Department of Aviation. This ordinance is just a standard reimbursement paper reimbursing the Renewal and Extension Fund and commercial paper from final funding sources. It's primarily for project management and construction management costs that are initially paid out of renewal and extension. And you can see those projects being reimbursed and final funding sources in the attachment A.
Motion approved by Juan, second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 4, 23-01470, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into an airport use and lease agreement with LATAM Airlines Peru, SA, doing business as LATAM Airlines Group at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport for use of the airfield and the Central Passenger Terminal Complex for an initial term of 5 years, beginning November 1st, 2023, with options to renew for successive terms of 5 years through June 30th, 2036, and for other purposes.
Aviation.
Good morning, Jai Farrell, Chief Commercial Officer at the airport. This is to initiate service 3 times a week for LATAM Airlines. It's part of our air service development strategy to connect people and products and across the world, and so we're really excited about that.
Great, yeah. It's motion by Lewis, second by Faroki. Please open the vote. It's nice to see more airlines servicing the
The
airport.
vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 5, 23-01471, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into the Central Passenger Terminal Complex Support Space Lease Agreement with various concessionaires and airline support companies for storage and office support spaces located at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, waiving the lease of city-owned real property requirements contained in Section 2-1547, Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions and for other purposes.
Ms. Farrell.
Thank you, Chair. This is actually to transition our permitting process over to a lease process. Right now, we have a temporary month-to-month permit that we've been issuing to concessionaires and other support entities at the airport. We want everyone to be under a lease agreement.
Mr. Juan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the caption refers to waiving our procurement code, but the whereas clauses don't explain what we're waiving and why. Can you speak to that, please?
So what we're currently doing with the permit is we just wait on individuals to request. So if you look at the terms up to 10 years, that also corresponds with most of our longer term lease agreements for the concessionaires. So what we want to do is put them under the lease. Right now, the permit agreement has very little types of impact and also enforcement as if we had a lease agreement. So that's the whole goal.
Thank you for that explanation. Law Department, is there a reason why we don't include that for just more transparency purposes for the public in the legislation itself?
We're happy to do that going forward. That was just a mere oversight.
Thank you.
Yep.
Happy to take care
The
of that.
motion to approve on condition as articulated by Mr. Juan. I'll second it. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on condition. This takes us to Section I, resolutions. Mr. Chair, item number 6 will require an amendment. Amendment changes the caption.
Move to amend. Second by Amos. Please open the vote on the motion to amend.
Vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The item has been amended. The amendment removes Roger Street Southeast in the caption and all references of the legislation. Item number 6, 23R4031, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari as amended by Transportation Committee, a resolution requesting the mayor as designee to make the intersection of Roger Street Northeast at the Arizona Lost and Always Stop Control intersection to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersections and for other purposes.
Mr. Smith.
Good morning, Council. Alan Smith, Deputy Commissioner, ATL DOT, TIM Division. The department supports this legislation.
Motion by Lewis, second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The Vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Mr. Chair, if there is no objection from the committee, can we take items 7 and 8 together as a block? These are
Please
for
do.
the installation of traffic calming devices. Item number 7, 23R4032, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Batiari requesting the mayor or designee to install traffic calming devices on Faith Avenue Southeast between Glenwood Park Drive Southeast and Stovall Street Southeast and for other purposes.
Mr. Smith.
Item number 8,
sorry.
23R4033, a resolution by Councilmember Liliana Batiari requesting the mayor or designee to install traffic calming devices on Montgomery Street Southeast from Hosea Williams Drive Southeast to Woodbine Avenue Southeast and for other purposes.
Mr. Smith.
The department supports this legislation
I'll
also.
move to approve. Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. Item number 9, 23R4034, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier requesting the mayor or designee to make an always stop control intersection at Atwood Street Southwest and Selves Avenue Southwest to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. And Mr. Chair, the sponsor requests that this item be held.
I'll move to hold it. Second by Amos. Please open the vote on the motion to hold.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held in committee. Item number 10, 23R4035, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Dozier requesting the mayor or designee to install traffic calming devices on Windsor Street Southwest from Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard Southwest to Love Street Southwest and for other purposes. And Mr. Chair, this item will need to be amended. The amendment will make minor revisions to the second whereas clause in the legislation.
I'll move to amend. Is there a second? Second by Amos. Please open the vote on the motion to amend the caption.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been amended.
Mr. Smith, you want to comment on it before we vote on it? Or do you need to read the caption in, Mr. Johnson?
Oh, I already sounded the caption.
Okay.
The department supports the
All right,
legislation.
I'll move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. Item number 11, 23R4047, a resolution by Councilmember Amir Faroqi authorizing the mayor or designee to apply for a fiscal year 2023 U.S. Department of Transportation Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods Discretionary Capital Construction Grant in an amount not to exceed $250,000 for planning, design, and construction of Phase 1 of the Stitch and for other purposes.
Move to approve. Mr. Wan.
Why does the caption say 250 million?
Sorry, it's 250 million.
It's 250 billion. Yeah, the
Excuse me.
second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. If there's no objection from the committee, can we take items 12 and 14 together as a block?
So I do object. I'd like 14. I think they're both my papers. 14 I'd like to hold, which I'll explain in a second. But if we just take 12 separately, then we'll hold 14.
Okay. Item number 12, 23R4048, a resolution by Councilmember Amir Faroqi authorizing the mayor as a need to install stop signs along McClendon Avenue Northeast at the intersections of Elmira Place Northeast, Ferguson Street Northeast, Mel Avenue Northeast, and Brooks Avenue Northeast, and for other purposes.
Mr. Smith.
Alan Smith, Deputy Commissioner, ATL DOT, Tim Division. We support this legislation.
I'll move to approve. Is there a second? Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Mr. Chair, item number 13 requires a substitute. Maybe bring forth the substitute.
Move to bring forward the substitute. Second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute brought before you. The substitute clarifies the matching funds of the agreement and adds additional revisions throughout the legislation. Item number 13, 23-0-4049, a resolution by Councilmember Amir Faroki as substituted by Transportation Committee, a resolution authorizing the mayor as designated to enter into an amended project framework agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation, and the first amendment to project management agreement with Atlanta Downtown Improvement District for the I-75, I-85 capping study, the STITCH, project information listed herein and for other purposes.
And barring no comment from ATL DOT, I'll move to approve. Second by Amos. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute. Item number 14, 23-R-4050, a resolution by Councilmember Amir Faroki authorizing the mayor as designee to make the intersection of Angier Avenue Northeast and Garden Park Drive Northeast an all-way stop control intersection to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes.
So, Mr. Smith, this is my paper. It's my understanding in talking with your team that this is a proposed all-way stop at a three-way intersection, but that one portion of the intersection is privately owned.
Yeah.
So we just need to contact the apartment complex that built the road there and get them on board. So I'll move to hold, and we'll bring this back up once we talk to the apartment complex. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Second by Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held in committee. Item number 15, 23-R-4051, a resolution by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet requesting the Commissioner of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to conduct a traffic study at the intersection of Tell Road Southwest and Fairburn Road Southwest to determine the need for any safety improvements such as traffic calming devices, reduced speeds, or stop signs, to request the Atlanta Department of Transportation to widen and install a corrective stop sign placement at Tell Road traveling through Fairburn Road Southwest and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, this item will need to be amended. The amendment makes some minor revisions in the third and fourth whereas clause.
Motion to bring forth the amendment from Overstreet. I'll second that. Please open the vote on the motion.
The vote is open. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been amended.
We support it.
Please open the vote. We had a motion to approve by Overstreet, a second by Lewis.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. Item number 16, 23-R-4052, a resolution by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet requesting the Commissioner of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to conduct a traffic study at the intersection of Stone Road Southwest and Fairburn Road Southwest to determine the need for any safety improvements such as traffic calming devices, reduced speeds, or stop signs and for other purposes. And this item will also need to be amended to make minor revisions in the third whereas clause.
Motion to amend by Overstreet, second by Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been amended.
We support it.
ATL DOT is in support. Ms. Overstreet, would you like to make a motion? Motion to approve by Overstreet, second by Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable as amended. Item number 17, 23R4053, a resolution by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet requesting the Commissioner of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to conduct a study on the installation of a traffic signal system at the intersection of Niskey Lake Circle Southwest and Danforth Road Southwest and for other purposes.
We support it.
Move to approve. Ms. Overstreet.
A second, but I did want you all to know that I do appreciate all of the improvements that are happening on Danforth. I've been receiving quite a bit of positive feedback. Just want to make sure that we have looked at everything, and I know while we've walked it together a couple times, so wondering if there's something more visible that could happen maybe above the four-way stop, flashing light, whatever, so that people will know that that stop sign is there before they get there, even though we do have the speed humps in place already. Just wanting to make sure we are doing all that we can. So that's what this paper is, just to look at another option to be added.
Definitely.
Thank you.
We'd be happy to.
Motion by Farokhi, second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Item number 18, 23R4138, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor to execute a change order with Matthews Kelly Joint Venture for project number FC 9142, cargo expansion site preparation 2A and 2B at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport in an amount not to exceed $6,500,000.00. All services will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Aviation.
Good morning, Tom Nasalki, Assistant General Manager for Planning and Development at the Department of Aviation. To review, the approach we're taking with the Cargo 2A, 2B site is to have the Department of Aviation perform this site preparation project and then have a third-party developer come in and construct and operate the cargo buildings and the related infrastructure that go on top of the site preparation work that we're doing. We're close to finalizing negotiations with our third-party developer, and a component of the negotiations is that they're requesting that we lower the 22-acre site by 5 feet. And so the funding in this legislation will fund the lowering of the site, as well as fund some minor roadway geometric improvements to facilitate dump truck movement.
Motion approved by Juan, second by Farokhi. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 19, 23R4139, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute a reimbursement agreement with Delaware North Atlanta Partners for FC 5464 agreement for Concourse's D&T food and beverage concessions for the contraction of premises associated with the Concourse D widening project at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport in an amount not to exceed $108,817.86. All funds to be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Ms. Farrell.
Hello, Jai Farrell, Airport. We are looking at reimbursing Delaware North, which is the operator of the Five Guys. It's 881 square feet. This impact is to accommodate the Concourse D widening project on that end of the concourse.
Motion approved by Juan, second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Mr. Chair, the Department of Aviation requests to take item number 20 and 21 together as a block.
Please do.
These items will need to be amended to attach to our iPro reports, but I will sound the captions. Item number 2023R4140, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor as needed to execute a concessions lease agreement for RFP DOA 1230150, concessions package 2-H1 concourses C, E, and F at Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport with Arias Shellis ATL Joint Venture LLC for the term of 10 years with one 3-year renewal term and for other purposes. Item number 2123R4141, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor as needed to execute a concessions lease agreement for RFP DOA 1230149, concessions package 2-F1 Concourse B at Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport with the Delaware North Companies Travel Hospitality Service Incorporated for a term of 10 years with one 3-year renewal term and for other purposes. Both of these items will need to be amended to attach the IPA reports.
Okay. Motion to amend by Juan, second by Faroki. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. These items are amended.
Any comment?
Much awaited Reimagine ATL SkyPoint, 20,000 square feet. Really excited about this. We get a chance to really reimagine the end of the concourse along with outfitting the Ramp 6 North gates that will be built to also accommodate the concourse C widening. So very happy that we're heading to the close on this. Can't wait to start negotiations, sir.
I'll move to approve. Second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention. These items are favorable as amended. Item number 23R4142, a resolution by Transportation Committee modifying the PFC funding amount established in Resolution 23R3660 in the amount not to exceed $61,870,808.11 for contract number listed herein. Airfield shoulder replacement at Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport with C.W. Matthews Contracting Company Incorporated. On behalf of the Department of Aviation, all services will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Aviation.
Brian Benefield, Department of Aviation. Excuse me. This resolution is to correct an administrative error in the original legislation, 23R3660. The total amount approved in that legislation was correct. However, there were 2 funding sources. One of those funding sources, the passenger facility charge, was incorrect, so this is correcting that error.
Okay. Motion approved by Juan, second by Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable. Mr. Chair, we have 2 items coming off held today. The first is item number 31, 23O1391. An ordinance by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond requesting the Atlanta Department of Transportation to declare Mullen Street Southwest as an open and active street, requesting the Atlanta Department of Transportation to develop a portion of the right-of-way along Mullen Street Southwest located between T Road Southeast and the dead end of Mullen Street, lying and being in land lot 212 of the 14th District of Fulton County, Georgia, tax parcel ID is listed herein and for other purposes. The administration requested this item be moved on condition for a substitute to be provided.
Mr. Smith, do you want to speak to it before we?
No objection.
Okay. Well, what's the condition? Mr.
That
Nelson?
a substitute be provided from ATL DOT in the law department for Monday's full council meeting.
Why wouldn't we have it here? I mean, is there a certain urgency with this paper that we can't wait a cycle to get the substitute before us?
It was the question from the administration.
Ms. Anderson-Bomar.
Yes, good morning, Marcia Anderson-Bomar. The cost estimate that was requested very recently was not completed in time for today's meeting, so that needs to be completed as part of the package.
Okay, but why couldn't we wait a cycle to have that paper and then we'll move it forward in 2 weeks?
Given that it's just waiting for the cost estimate, which can be completed in time, council member requested that we move it forward. That's why we brought it to you today.
Right. Any objection from the body moving it forward on condition? Yeah. I think I'm not willing to make a motion to do so. I have not heard one from the body, so I think we'll just let it sit and held. We'll happy to address it in 2 weeks, but that's, yeah. It's been held for a long, yeah. So, okay, thank you.
So our last item is item number 33, 23-01437, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to amend Resolution 17R3506 to clarify the agreements authorized to be executed thereunder in support of the Piedmont Road widening project, to ratify the execution of the contract for acquisition of the right-of-way with the Georgia Department of Transportation, to ratify services rendered under such contract and for other purposes. This item will need to be amended to attach a letter from the Buckhead CID.
Okay, I'll turn to Ms. Norwood for her to make the motion or to make any comment.
Okay. Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend or a motion to remove from held, and then a motion to amend.
Okay, so there's a motion to remove from held. Do we need to make that? We don't think we need to make that motion.
Okay.
You can just move to amend it, and then we can vote it
All
straight
right.
up. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to amend to include the letter that I just received from the Buckhead CID. I got the final sentence I had requested, so that's the brand new updated version. And I'd like that attached to the legislation, please.
I'll second that. So there's a motion to amend to add the Buckhead CID letter to this legislation. Motion by Norwood, second by Farokhi. Please open the vote.
A motion to approve is amended.
DOT have any comment?
I just wanted to say that we appreciate the support for this.
Second by Lewis. Please open the vote on the motion to approve. Great. Thank you, everyone. One announcement is just a reminder that next Thursday, September 21st, we'll have a field trip for those who are interested to visit the Luckstone Quarry, which is where concrete comes from at the airport and other places in the area. For council members who want to attend, please let Mr. Johnson know by close of business on the 15th. Is that correct? Terrific. All right. Have a great day, everyone. We're adjourned.